Yeah, Jacob has done that too.
Hola Madridistas, welcome to our preview for the UCL group stage match where we're going to be hosting our Portuguese neighbors SC Braga. We have a very special guest today from the Setenta E Oito channel, Kevin. Kevin, this time did I actually get the name right or how did I do?
Yep, bang on.
Bang on, all right, let's go. But yeah, before we begin, let us know, tell us what's your story, how did you get started with the channel and what the channel is all about.
Yeah, so basically the channel started as just a podcast with the name Mushpenenka and another little few initiatives that nowadays not going as much forward with. I only got into it about a year ago, and since then we've actually rebranded the channel now to Setenta E Oito, where we've kept the name of the podcast the same with the new thing that we're going to also record on our site called Europa Panenka to find out more about independent projects about clubs around Europe. But now under Setenta E Oito, we do various different things to explore not only Portuguese football, but the national team as well and the league. Such as we're on TikTok, Instagram. We do a little bit of everything, which is not so common in our space. And we're actually currently one of the most heard independent podcasts surrounding football in the country, which we're quite proud of. And the thing that makes us quite unique is we're all, or at least everyone who's writing and that's involved in the page, we're about around 15 at the moment. All students, all with around the same goal, all the same mentality. We just like talking about the sport. And that's basically our story for now. We're ever growing. We'll see how it goes from now.
Yeah, hopefully we get you a few subscribers from our viewer base. All of the links are down in the description below if you guys want to follow Kevin and Setenta Oito. But before we get into the actual preview, we also have the rest of the star-studded panel. Let's welcome them. Farouk and Mo, how are you guys doing? Mo, I'll come to you first because I'm gonna wait to get Farouk's thoughts on the Rayo game as well. But Mo, how are you doing?
No, man, I'm fine totally. The thing is, like today, I feel like awestruck because on one hand we have Kevin, representing Braha and Portuguese football in general, and then on the other side we have the always awesome Farouk. So with Farouk in the building, you just have to take a back seat and listen to greatness.
Yeah, that's what I do in every single preview. Just listen to greatness.
Come on, Jacob. You see the way you introduced Kevin, and you never introduced me like that. We've been doing this for more than a year. You never introduced, like you never said, like, oh, there's a special guest and this and that. Come on, man. Like, what greatness are you sitting if you're not, admitting?
I can do an intro. So yeah.
No, and Farouk, I got your back. Don't worry.
You got me. Yeah, man. It's all good, man. You were talking about the Rayo game. The Rayo game was, I think it was more of what I expected the season to look like. A lot of chances that's not being finished, and I think actually the thing I agreed the most with when you guys did the post match pod was when Mo said like Osilo is a striker that is good enough to be the second fiddle, not the first fiddle. Like when you have Osilo as your starting striker, like this is what you expect to happen. And it's quite interesting because for me, like I felt like the Rayo game was one of the games I think that we had the most chances throughout. I think at least if I remember correctly, like it's one of I think maybe the second or the third game we had the most chances that I can remember, and we still just couldn't finish anything. So that's the thing. Like it's looking bleak on us. And just the day before we had Hurricane scoring 3 against Borussia Dortmund. It is it's what could have been. Unfortunately.
Hmm. Yeah, it's going to be the story of our season. What could have been?
Farouk and his love for Kane is going to be an overriding theme this season.
Definitely. I mean, come on, the man was there for 100 million, man. Like, why not go get him? Like, I understand he's old and what is and what is not. Like, he's as guaranteed goals as there is ever a guarantee of goals.
Yeah. Right, Kevin. Before we head into the Braha side of things, whenever we have a new guest, we like to play a short game of rapid fire questions. You feeling up to that?
I can try. I can't promise much.
I mean, it's going to be easy questions. I'm pretty sure you're going to be
You
on
don't
top
have
of
to
it.
worry, it's not an exam, you don't pass off it.
But Farooq is a slime and he's going to be smiling, but then he's going to judge you silently, So be careful.
I expect nothing less. After the introduction, he's already got a grudge against me.
I'm a peace man. I come in peace.
All right. So, Kevin, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. First question. What's your all-time favorite moment in the UCL? Can be any Portuguese club or even the EPL. Doesn't matter.
I have to say, I'm going to come clean. I'm not a Braga fan. I'm a Sporting fan.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be Sporting 3, Dortmund 1 in the stadium. It's the second time only in our history that we go past to the round of 16. Yeah, amazing night. I don't think anyone gave us too much of a chance in that game. And yeah, Dortmund had their players out, but brilliant game overall. Atmosphere was amazing. Yeah, history. We'll ignore what happened against Manchester City in the next round, but yeah, has to be that.
Yeah, that's not a bad moment. So second question. So who's your favorite player who's played in Liga Portugal till now?
Oh, I'm going to go for Freddy Montero. He was a Colombian striker that Sporting had. Definitely not the best, not the most consistent, but when he was on his day, he was just vibes. He's one of those players that none of your supporters are going to say, yeah, he was the best. But when he touched the ball, he had that sort of ability about him. He's a fans player, sort of.
Mm-hmm. Mo, have you guys seen him in action?
No, I've just heard of him. I've never actually watched him play. The thing is, like, I don't really watch a lot of the Portuguese league, so I'm just saying, I'm just as naive about it as you guys.
Yeah. All right, we'll catch some highlights after this episode. But yeah,
definitely.
Third question for Kevin. Do you have a second team in the EPL or in La Liga? And for some reason, I have a feeling it's going to be Arsenal. You just give off that vibes,
You got it bang on, actually.
Oh, yeah.
You actually got it straight on, yes. Yeah, I'd say Arsenal all day in England. Spanish league, I don't necessarily have an allegiance. I have friends, very close friends from both sides. So I try not to get too much involved. But yeah, Sporting have also played Real Madrid and Barcelona and Atletico Madrid in recent years. Lost to all three of them. So yeah, anyone's pick.
Yeah.
No, but Sporting's biggest heroes play for Real Madrid, so I guess you should have an affinity for us.
I would, but you know what? We were winning 1-0 in that game at the Bernabeu, and you remember what happened?
Yeah, I do.
Ronaldo scores, and then Morata scores last minute. I was crying. I was crying that game.
Yeah, I remember that game. I mean, a lot of fond memories.
The whole season is definitely pretty good. If I had been in your place, probably do the same. So.
Oh no, we were witnessing greatness in that game, and I think Sporting played quite well for what we could have done. Gelson Martins had his moments, I remember. William Carvalho had a good game, but look, Real Madrid in the Champions League is a different thing. Doesn't matter what happens, they'll always get their way in the end.
I mean, we should be thanking you for the kind words.
Yeah, I wish I had your confidence, Kevin.
This season might be a little bit more difficult, but who knows?
For us, the thing is, like, as good as our team can be, the worst performance gets us crying. We'll be mourning after every game. So
yeah, that's
100%.
All right. Next stadium is going to be quite specific to Braga. Kevin, have you actually been to the Estadio Municipal? And how's the vibe if you have been there?
I have not. Usually when I go back to Portugal, I go to the south. Braga is up north. And usually it's one of the best away days to go to. Their stadium's a little bit in the middle of nowhere. It's a little bit difficult to get tickets to go to. For the people who go on like the journey with the fans to the stadium, it's a long walk. There's a lot of stairs. It's a very unique stadium with the backdrop of the rocks. You all saw it in the first leg between the teams. It's one that I want to go to, but unfortunately I haven't had the opportunity yet. No.
And how does
Have you actually ever been to the Bernabeu? Yeah.
Bernabeu, I wish. I tried. I tried to go to that away game, but yeah, too difficult. When there's an away game, a big European away game, usually they give the tickets in an order of whoever has a season ticket for the most time. Obviously, I don't live in Portugal. I don't have one, so it's quite difficult for me to get the away day tickets.
Getting a ticket to the Bernabeu from the home team is also pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you could imagine, yeah, it's a little bit of the same circumstance on different sides.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Kevin, if you're happy, I do have more questions, but if you're like all loosened up and ready to get into the gist of things, let's just
I
go
don't
right
mind
in.
either way, guys. We can do this your way. I don't mind.
Yeah, man, let's get right into it, just in the interest of time. So, gonna come to you, Farooq. So, did you catch the Braha away game that we had, and what was your take on it?
I think they scored 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh no, like
Wasn't it?
our game, Real Madrid
Oh, you mean
versus
the
Braha.
first leg? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, the first leg. Unfortunately, no, actually.
Oh, you didn't catch the game, okay.
Because
More.
actually, I went to watch Inter Salzburg, so I could not watch that.
Yeah, such is the state of Madrid fans, eh?
Yeah.
Skipping Champions League
Unbelievable.
games.
Unbelievable.
Oh, what can I say? I had a better offer on the table.
No, Jacob, but I managed to catch the game. I must say that I really liked watching Al Musrati play for Braha, because that was one guy, like, even coming into the game, everybody was talking about like he's a good player. So that was one player I really wanted to watch, and I was pretty, I was actually pretty impressed by what I saw in the game from him.
For me, it was even previewing it. We did not have Kevin for it, but then we did what we could. So we were just taking a look at the front line, and it was all dynamic, all fast players. They're kind of experienced, but not really that old as well. Banza, Horta, Diallo, all of those guys. And I thought they would be a real threat, and they were proven right. It was a very open game. But Mo, did you actually feel like we could have lost that one?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I felt that we had a little bit of a scare towards the end, because I don't remember the goal scorer's name. It was Jallo or what?
Yeah, it was Diallo.
Yeah. Okay. So the guy, the funny thing about him is like he's a Barcelona fan, was born in Madrid. His father was a Madrid fan, but just to spite his father, he became a Barcelona fan. So that was pretty funny. But the fact that he scored, and it put us in a bit of a pickle, especially after Bellingham had put us 2 up. So I thought, like, this is typical Real Madrid, do well and then get complacent at the end and let it go. But overall, I didn't really feel that we would go on to lose it. Would Braha come back and draw? I wouldn't have ruled it out, because we've seen in Champions League past Real Madrid facing opponents of not that high caliber. With all due respect to Braha, we have a tendency to mess it up. And when as we were talking about the 16-17 season, we saw that Real Madrid always drew with Dortmund in the third and fourth game, and finished second in the group stage. So with that in mind, yeah, probably that was something that was back in my mind, but overall, I was pretty convinced that Real Madrid are somehow going to sneak this one through.
Kevin, did you have the same feeling? Did you ever feel like Braha could have done better, or the team played to its highest potential on that night?
Braga, in my opinion, is very, as we say in Portuguese, it's 8 or 80. You get 2 sides of a spectrum with this team. If you see the statistics of them in the league, they've got the most goals scored, but they've got more goals conceded than teams in like 15th, 16th. The defense is awful, to be quite kind to them. So when you see the Braga are going to face Real Madrid, even being at home, and the way that they like to play, break up the game and try and hit on the counter with those fast, dynamic players, as you said, you get very worried or you get very excited, depending what side that you're on. I thought they did quite well, all things considered. Real Madrid, obviously, Bellingham is inevitable, as we've found out way too many times in recent weeks. I don't think at any point it looked like they were going to lose. Although Braga did have a few good chances. Al-Musrati had a decent game. It's far from his best. I mean, Real Madrid's midfield just looked a lot more composed for the situation, and Braga seemed like they were happy to let the game get into that sort of state where Real Madrid will get the ball, but they try and hit them and break it up instead of try and control it themselves, which usually, with them trying to play a higher line with defenders that, one, don't have the pace, two, don't have the experience, three, don't really have the quality for this stage, it can be quite dangerous. So I don't think either side will be too upset with how the game went. I don't think Braga can ask realistically for too much more. And really, I think every single fan of Braga was just thinking, we're going to get Real Madrid coming to our stadium, which, as I said, it's not in the best location. It's not something that any Braga fan would have dreamed about 20 years ago. And it's just more of a sign of how far the club has come. So even as I'm escaping a little bit from how the game went, but for a Braga fan, that's what they would have been thinking. And they would have been happy with the performance, all things considered. Even though, yeah, maybe one or two chances could have gone their way and a miracle could have happened. I don't think either Real Madrid fan or a Braga fan can be too upset at how the game went. And yeah, obviously, we're going to get into it in a minute, but at home, we do sort of wait for a different story if you're a Real Madrid fan. And even the most optimistic Braga fan is going to think the same.
Mm. And how about the overall Champions League campaign? Do you actually think Braga has a chance of qualifying above Napoli, or even just for the UEFA Europa League is more realistic?
I think the aim was always to go for the Europa League. Obviously, Union Berlin is not in the best situation right now. Quite a few losses on the spin. And then Napoli, they've obviously not been themselves since they lost their manager, went for Rudi Garcia, who I think any single football fan was thinking, what and why? So as much as you do expect Napoli still to get that second place spot just because of the experience, just because of the quality that they have and the different realities of both clubs, I don't think it's totally unrealistic for Braga to think if Union Berlin helps them out in the next game and maybe Braga pinches a draw here or there. Look, it could all depend on the game between Braga and Napoli, and they could go for a very unexpected second place. They're facing two clubs in a very bad moment, and Braga, they've got the same points as last season at this stage in the league, and that's basically their best season ever, points-wise. So, why not? They can dare to dream.
Yeah. Always good, especially when things aren't going exactly the way you want in the league, right? And you mentioned they had the same number of points as last season at this point, but then how come they're fourth in the league and it's almost an 8-point difference? Am I reading that right? So Sporting are right
I
at
believe
top.
they're... Yeah, I'm pretty sure Porto and Braga have around the same points, around the 22 mark. Benfica is on 25 and Sporting on 28, I believe. Braga have maintained the level. Porto haven't looked themselves, but have still managed to grind out the results. Very close games. Benfica have dropped 3 points in comparison to last season. And obviously, they lost Gonçalo Ramos and Enzo Fernandes from this point last season. Two key players. They haven't been able to find out the dynamics to replace them. Obviously, they bought different players, but they're not exactly the same. And Sporting have come on leaps and bounds since last season. I mean, at this point last season, they had already lost to Braga at their home stadium and lost quite a few points and were very inconsistent. They didn't put a stretch of 3 wins in a row winning. And this season, the only game that they've lost was Atalanta in the Europa League. So I don't even think it's too much Braga, their defense isn't great because their attack has been scoring the goals. I think they've managed to maintain the same sort of level. It's just the teams around them have either more or less maintained it and they've got more quality. And then you have the anomaly in this, which is Sporting, who have just gone through the roof with their signings. So as much as you could say that Braga can do better, and they haven't really improved their defense the way that they should have done, the teams around them just haven't let them have their space.
Right. Yep. Overall, I guess before we head into analyzing the lineups for this match and come to Farooq, I'll just read out some of the comments that we have. So Siddharth Mishra, he said, so he says he could have helped with the ticket. And so Kevin, next time you want to watch a game at the Bernabeu, just ping us and Sid can get you tickets. So he has contacts at the club.
I do appreciate it because that was a mission that I never saw that was going to happen. So I do appreciate it very much.
Yeah. And yeah, Sunair is here in the chat as well. He says Musrati is a beast, and he hopes that we can see the best version of him at the Bernabeu.
If Braga have any hope of doing anything, they're gonna have Al Musrati on his best day, and sometimes he does have his off days, but when he's on it, he is very literally a beast in that midfield.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have Madrid TV also in the chat. He says, we need a big reaction after yesterday's draw. Hala Madrid. Heck yeah, man. We need to find
But Jacob, do you think we're getting that reaction? That big reaction that Madrid TV is talking about?
Hey, let's... why are you asking me?
I don't know, man. I want to put you on the spot, I want to hear your opinions. We'll just be hosting stuff.
I think we're gonna I think we're gonna get a reaction. I don't think it's gonna be a big reaction. I think it's gonna be more of the same. But I feel like we can't be as unlucky as in the Rayo game, right? We're somehow gonna find a way to put the ball in the back of the net. So I feel like there's gonna be goals in this game. For whom? I don't know.
Farooq, do you think it's just a question of quality or luck? It's a question of quality or luck.
I think it's a question of quality, not luck, eventually, because it's all about the fact that how many shots on target did we have in the game, how many chances we created. You look at situations and you feel like, okay, like you get into the situations, but then that final decision making was lacking totally. I can even pinpoint a lot of things. There were situations with Joselu, there were chances that a lot of slick movement between Rodrigo, Carvajal, and Freddy that led to a position. I think I can't remember who was at the end of it, but anyways, they fluffed their lines or stuff like that. So that's what I was gonna say. Like, what reaction are you looking for? It's the fact of as Kylian Mbappe says, like it's the glass ceiling. Like you're at the limit. Like, what do you want to happen? Like it's just Jude that's gonna keep exceeding his XG. That's just a thing. That's the only way this team moves forward is that, someone is going to keep exceeding their XG. That's just the only way. There is no, kind of someone matching their quality or no. If someone has to exceed the XG, that's the only way we can, move forward.
Yeah, man. I was looking at all of these XG stats, especially since I felt like we lost a lot of good chances. And yes, the Rayo game XG for us was 2.3 goals. We should have scored more than 2 goals. And if you look at Rodrigo's XG, it's like almost 5 goals he should have scored in the league. And he just has 1. So hugely underperforming, guys. And I feel like we just haven't hit that glass ceiling, like you said, we have more to offer.
I think we're at the glass ceiling, though. This is my point. My point is that we're at the glass ceiling. Because the point is, like, I feel like, okay, Rodrigo is underperforming, right? That's one thing, like, I think Vinicius can still keep scoring and he will still score the 20 goals that he has scored, in the season. Like, it's nothing, like, okay, like, his form is not back due to the injury and all that. So the other option is like, okay, who's going to give you the goals? It's Joselu. You need Joselu to score 20 goals in the league. I don't know. Maybe you guys can correct me, but has he ever scored 20 goals in the league? I don't know. And then the other option is you're asking Jude to score 30 goals. Jude's highest goal tally for all competitions with 40 games is 12 goals. Right now, he's already ahead of that. So basically, again, it's about someone superseding all expectations and all statistics. So basically, it's just like you're waiting for a miracle to happen. This is not something that even Carlo can coach. Like, I'm the most Carlo out person, but I know that, okay, this is not his fault.
Well, Mo, was that the answer you were expecting?
Yeah, definitely. With Farooq, you get the whole package. So. we even got the fact that he's Carlo out and thrown in. So.
Oh yeah, just casually throw that.
We hit all the usual bangers.
We're proud of this. Like we wear it on our sleeves.
Yeah. I mean, let's just head into the elephant in the room, right? Mo, you posted about it on your socials. So Jude Bellingham is probably going to miss this match for sure.
Yeah, there's he could potentially miss it. It's not like I'm not gonna say he's probably missing it. There is a potential chance for him to miss it because we all saw what happened against Rayo. He apparently dislocated his left shoulder, so the guy's in a lot of pain. I don't know. Like for me personally, I think he's pretty important for Real Madrid, and this is one of the games where we can at least take a risk of leaving him out. So probably giving him a rest tomorrow from my like it's not tomorrow, Wednesday. From my point of view, is probably a good idea. Just let him rest, give Brahim a chance, maybe, because a lot of people seem to be asking this question: why isn't Brahim playing? So we could probably get the answer to that if Brahim actually starts a game. Because I don't. There was some suggestion in the Spanish media that maybe Carlo Ancelotti might decide to go with a 4-3-3. But for me, I don't really see that happening because Ancelotti, in one of his press conferences, he said that the formation that he's using with the diamond is something that he's going to stick with. So probably, maybe Rodrigo comes in or plays at 10, or probably Brahim comes in, plays at 10, and Jose completely drops out, and Vinny and Rodrigo start. We'll see what happens on Wednesday, but we still have time. But or maybe Jude starts anyway. So let's see what happens. But if it was me, I would probably be going with Rodrigo or Brahim as a 10.
Right. So
But
if
the question
Jude,
now becomes, it's like, can you actually afford to leave Jude out of this formation? This is the question now. Is there any alternate? Like, is there any universe that this works without Jude being in it?
I think ideally what Ancelotti would have wanted was the fact that Arda Güler didn't get injured at the start of the season, because from what I've heard, Bellingham and Arda are the players that he wants to play as a 10. So if there's a potential to be using Rodrigo as a 10, because if you remember last season and the season before, Ancelotti used to say Rodrigo's best position is centrally, right? So having him play behind Joselu and Vinicius probably could be a potential thing to try out. If you remember, we have had the discussion before as well. I think I personally said that Joselu Rodrigo would be best playing off of Joselu. So if that's something that Ancelotti decides to do tomorrow, that could also be interesting.
Kevin, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So coming from a Braha fan perspective, would you rather see it like a 4-3-3 with Joselu up front, Rodrigo and Vinicius on the side, or just with Brahim? Do you think the diamond is more of a nightmare to deal with?
I think the diamond would offer more problems to Braga personally. Braga, despite they'll probably just play with the two in midfield and that dynamic front four, but usually in block they're quite well organised. I think playing with that 10, dragging one of the two centre backs out of position, which are probably their weaker points, would work. But I don't know until what point Joselu wouldn't be effective as well, because Vinicius and Rodrigo then would have that sort of player to play off of, maybe try and create a little bit more space for them to attack. And at the end of the day, the weak point of Braga is not so much their organisation, their midfield, their attack. It's the back four themselves. It's their quality and the way that they play together. It's not organised well enough. And individually, their characteristics just don't work together well enough. They can't do the high line, that sort of high pressing job that Artur Jorge, what he wants in league games. So Champions League games, it's another whole nightmare, especially against players of quality that Vinicius is fighting for Ballon d'Ors, top 10s. Rodrigo is one of the top talents in the world. Joselu, look, he's not the star in any means. He's not a Real Madrid striker.
To say the least.
But hey, he scores goals in La Liga. He's still a dimension above what Braga will deal with on a week-to-week basis in the Portuguese league. And I don't want to disparage the Portuguese league, obviously, but the reality is reality. Braga do not come to this stage very often. So I think Joselu would even offer a decent option, but personally, if Ancelotti feels comfortable putting someone to play that 10 role, try and drag one of the centre-backs out, I think that could really work, and Braga could suffer quite a lot, because at the end of the day, Braga have 4 options that can play at centre-back. I don't think any combination of the 4 will be that effective during 90 minutes at the Bernabeu. As much as Vallecano did their job and managed to weather a storm that I watched a little bit of the game. I saw the statistics afterwards. I don't think they'll have too many games that they'll have that many shots, that many chances, and not be able to put the ball in the back of the net. They score if they create that many chances against Braga, it's going to be a very long evening. So personally, I'd be more scared as a Braga fan to play against that false 9, that 10 role, because I just don't trust that back four to be targeted, and one of those centre backs have to step out, because be it Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinicius, and by what I saw of Brahim Diaz elsewhere, they can be lethal, and the space will be there to exploit potentially.
Yeah, Kevin, why do you say that stepping out is such a bad thing for this backline? Is it because of the lack of pace or the age of the players?
Well, you've got Niakate. He's a very inconsistent defender. He has an error in him, as much as he's probably the more complete of all of the options. You have José Fonte, who's the experienced option, but the legs will not allow him to do what he wants to do anymore. And neither of the other three have the pace to compensate necessarily. Paulo Oliveira is just a very limited centre-back. He used to be a Sporting player. I remember one game, and this was years ago when he was in his prime, we'll say, physically. There was a high line playing against Dortmund, against Aubameyang in his prime at Dortmund. I'm pretty sure he missed about 6 big chances, which was just Paulo Oliveira not being able to deal with for 1 second that pace and all the physicality. And with the ball, he's long ball and hope for the best, to be very kind to him. And then you have Sachi, who's about 20 years old. He's somewhat talented. Again, he's not ready for this level yet. And you combine any of them, I don't think one can compensate for the downfall of the other. As much as you've got the more experienced, the less experienced, the more physical, less physical options. And you don't have a specific number 6. Musrati is a very good ball-winning midfielder, but he does like to get advanced. He does like to make things happen in the other side. And Salazar is a lot more of a defensive 8, more of a 10 in phases of the game. Even if they play with Vitor Carvalho, he's a very on and off player. He was seen at Gil Vicente, where he was at last. And it's just not that sort of quality that one can handle with runs from the players in midfield as well, that can create that off balance and outnumber the Braga midfield, which will probably mean one of the centre-backs will have to step out. And once that happens, there's just not that protection in the beginning. So it's just that dynamic front line of Real Madrid, which they can create. I don't think that Braga have the personnel just to deal with it. And the 4-3-3 feels like it could be a little bit more fixed than the diamond.
Yeah. I think every team at this point knows Real Madrid's weakness, especially in La Liga. It's that we just can't handle any sort of crossing, and we're very weak at defending aerial balls as well with our centre backs. So do you think that's something that Braga are going to be concentrating for this reverse fixture?
I would say so. Simon Banza in the last game managed to score a hat-trick. Braga won 6-1. It was a very convincing performance. Portimonense just don't look like their usual selves. They're usually quite a stubborn team to play against. And they played with the fullbacks, Vitor Gomes and Christian Borja. Look, they're not world beaters, but they do have a decent cross on them. Alvaro Jaló, we've seen what he did in the home leg. He's been on fire. He's apparently been linked to Athletic Bilbao,
Wow.
which I'm not too surprised with, to be honest. He's Spanish origin, as we've spoken about. Very, very, very unpredictable player. And he can provide a decent ball. So I wouldn't be too surprised if that was Braga's sort of angle for the game. Try and hit on the counter-attack and target Banza, because he has showed he has a lot of goals in him. He does have his off phases, but he's very much on at the moment. So I think if there is a goal to come from Braga in this game, it would come through across to Banza.
So from what you're saying, I feel like there's going to be no changes from the first fixture. and it's going to be the same starting lineup?
I don't believe they'll change too much, no. Potentially, I believe it will still be Al Musrati and Vitor Carvalho in the midfield. I'd assume they'll keep the same front four from the game against Portimonense, at least, which is Horta, Bruma, Alvaro Jaló, and Banza. The back four is probably where you could see more variation. They've been switching and changing between in the last games, but I wouldn't expect to see too much different from maybe Gomez, Niakate, Fonte, and left back is maybe anyone's guess, but probably Barca for his crossing ability.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Matilde in goal. I wouldn't expect too many changes, maybe at max 2.
Right.
Kevin, actually, I was going to ask you, like, because when you were talking about the crossing and all that, like, there, because like actually I kind of got the highlight of the 6-1 victory they had, over the weekend, like they came back from 1-0 down, and one thing actually that stood out to me, like, and the reason was because like it's actually similar to goal they scored, against us at home as well, is that when actually the fullbacks attack, rather than cross, they look to bring the ball into the central spaces for like the 3 attackers. It seems like there's always 3 attackers in the box for some weird reason. I don't know why. But like they rather than cross, they like kind of make a cutback, but not necessarily a cutback. It's more of like a direct pass into the box for someone to just come onto and score. I don't know, like maybe you can just take us through what the attacking phase of Braha looks like, because like it seems like rather than cross, like the fullbacks are really interested in cutbacks and finding someone in the central spaces.
Yeah, they'll often do that, but that's mainly because they played with Bruma and Jaló on the right and Bruma on the left. Sometimes they'll change over and those sort of dynamics will change. But it's basically because they're very good at attacking, coming inside. They've obviously got very good dribbling ability. And at the moment, they're more productive than either of them have ever been in their careers, really. They're in the hottest phase. So, and considering Borja is somewhat limited with the ball, Gomez depends on his day, to be honest. I think George was looking more at trying to limit their weaknesses with the ball and try and give them more basic passes to play and just let the more technical players do their job. So what we could see more of, as you kind of alluded to, is those early crosses coming in. So maybe Borja being a little not exactly in line with the penalty box on the flank, but a little bit more reserved, and then whipping those crosses into Banza in the middle. And maybe getting Horta a little bit more into central spaces because he's far and away the best finisher at Braga, maybe the best finisher in the league, just because he can get the ball in, he can fire away the shot with very little preparation. It's a very easy shot. He strikes the ball very well. So it kind of depends on what Braga will try and fully make the most of. Because they could play Albel Ruiz, which is trying to facilitate more winning the ball up the pitch, which I do doubt because, one, he brings a better effect off of the bench, especially in a big game where they're not going to expect to have too much of the ball and they don't have the luxury of pressing high as much. And they could play Marin because he's a little bit better on the ball, and that would bring more of a sign that they are trying to play that game in between the spaces. But overall, I would expect the fullbacks to stay a little bit wider in this game. One, just because they can whip those balls in earlier, and it doesn't mean they didn't need to attack the byline as much or come inside and leave probably what will be Vinicius and Rodrigo more exposed to then attack the spaces that they leave. And it's a little bit more of a conservative approach. It's probably the most effective, where if the cross goes out of bounds, they'll have at least Horta then to try and pick up the pieces as well.
Right.
And it just seems the more sensible approach. But I wouldn't be surprised if later on during the game, if Braga need to look for a victory, maybe if we're around the 60th minute, it's only 1 or 2 goals difference, which is what they'll be hoping for. They'll try and limit the damage in the first half more realistically. I wouldn't be surprised if they do move those fullbacks into more interior areas and just let Bruma and Jaló do what they want with creative license. Lose the ball if they have to, but try and make that magic happen and then attack the box in greater numbers.
Yeah, bro. I just wish, Carlo Ancelotti was listening to the last 5 minutes, because he's been horribly known to like not prepare for these smaller type of games and just come underprepared. But yeah, man, Kevin, you gave like a really good summary on what can we expect for the Braga side of things. And before we head into the Real Madrid lineups, let's just read a couple of comments. So Iraqi Time asks, do you guys think Jude is a replacement to Benzema, or would you give him some? Would you still give him some progress? Farooq, you can take it. You think?
Apple and oranges, man. Apple and oranges, honestly. Like I keep saying this, like it's Jude is not a striker, like whatever anyone wants to say, let them say to me. I don't believe Jude is someone that can get you 25, 30 goals every year consistently. I don't think that is the case. No. Whatever anyone wants to say, let them say to me. So that's the thing. Like he hasn't shown this ever in his career. And the point is this, even this is happening now because he's being placed in a system where the system maximizes, his abilities, But also the point is next summer you go to the market and get a striker, So like the issue of Jude being a replacement for Benzema is just the issue of Carlo Ancelotti using what he has to, like he has lemons, he's making lemonades, that's just the thing. But like Jude is not even close or not even being in discussion of being a replacement for Karim, at least in my opinion.
Yep. And
Yeah, I definitely agree with Farouk, when he says that Bellingham isn't like for like replacement, because I think with Benzema you also have to keep in mind that it isn't just the goals. It was also about like Benzema being the system in himself. Without Benzema and with Benzema, we already saw how Real Madrid was last season. So I guess that's something that's again, popping up this season, because what we have stressed upon, in the podcast past, that is the fact that we need people to be combining around the box, and I think Vinicius and Rodrigo are struggling because of that, because there's nobody to combine with without Benzema. So Bellingham, while he's getting the goals, he's not getting the combination down, I think, to unlock the defenses sometimes. So that's probably something that I really want to see how Ancelotti deals with.
yeah, indeed, the next
What
comment
did
is
you
indeed about Ancelotti.
in your lifetime?
Yeah. So Prince Arthur, big up your pick, Prince Arthur. So he says, Ancelotti's stubbornness is what will be our undoing. Playing regulars all the time is not gonna work. Jude can't play 65 games a year. In fact, no one can. Mix it up, rest the regulars. So Mo, like you can take this question. Who do you think needs the most rest from our starting lineup?
I think while I generally tend to agree with what the sentiment of the thing was, like of the comment was, but we have to give credit to Ancelotti, because this season we have seen at least some rotations in the positions that he has had options. There's been some changes in the midfield. He's like rotated Kroos and Modric. About Fede, we always knew, the fact that this guy is going to be undroppable for Ancelotti. And let's be honest, like if Fede is in the prime of his career, so you really do expect him to be there for all the big games. So, and Real Madrid right now, the way the league is structured, I don't really think we have any less important games that we can afford to, be dropping points or not go full strength. So for me, and even in attack, he's probably tried to switch Joselu and Rodrigo around, as ever since Vinicius has come back. So I wouldn't really blame him too much. It's just like it's just to use Farouk's thing. He's trying to make a lemonade with the lemons that he's been given. So
Yeah,
you just take what happens.
yeah. It's just that sometimes the lemonade is salty,
Yeah. Nobody gave him the sugar, because Farouk ate all of it. So.
That's the thing. That's the thing when he decided to get into this business with these people. So he has to face the consequence. I mean, the only reason why Carlo is still in the job is because he's the only person who wouldn't make a fuss about this. This is just a thing. At least I believe one of the key reasons he is there is this. If there is any other manager after yesterday, he will for sure bring it. Okay, yeah, we have 20 shots, only 5 on target. Do you think this is happening with a striker? This is the thing. Like, I mean. Well, Carlo will just play it cool, like he's the only person who's going to do this. And I think that's not the only, but one of the reasons why he's still in the job till date.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, let's get into the Real Madrid side of things. Mo, first of all, like you're gonna have to set the lineup for us. Is it gonna be a diamond or a 4-3-3? What do you think? What is your gut tell
Yeah,
us?
like I said previously, I think it's definitely going to be a diamond. For me, the only doubt is who plays at left back, because I think Kepa, the rest of the remaining 10, I think sort of like no, sorry, 9 players pick themselves. Jude is the one that I have a doubt on, because I don't really know if he'll be fit enough to play. And the left back, as I said, I don't really know if it's going to be Fran Garcia or if Mendy's fit enough to play, or maybe I think it's going to be between those two guys. Apart from that, I think Carvajal, Rudiger, Alaba is like they pick themselves up. Maybe Ancelotti decides to throws a curveball and play Nacho. So we don't really know about that. But then in the midfield, I think it's going to be Camavinga, and Toni Kroos is absolutely starting because he was rested in the midweek. Fede is undroppable. At 10, I think if Jude is not playing, he'll go with Rodrigo and then Joselu and Vinicius up front.
Oh wow, so Rodrigo at the 10. So
Yeah,
Farooq,
that's what I think.
yeah, do you actually think Rodrigo as a 10 will work out better than him as a striker? Farooq, I was asking you.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's the thing. Like, like right now, the one thing we've seen for sure is that Rodrigo needs a change of position. A bit of familiarity of what he does before, and as Mo was saying before, like even although Carlos said that even by the eye test you could see like Rodrigo was someone who loved to drift into those central areas, but the key thing now was that he was drifting into the center areas to link up with someone who was at the top of the at the top of the formation. So now that lacking of that person is what leads to a lot of his issues, although he still doesn't score the chances that he gets. But I think him playing as a 10 will bring those familiarities back. At least he will have a big man, although a very limited, very very limited big man in Joselu to at least link up with and get a sense of familiarity back. But if you ask me personally, I would want him to play in a 4-3-3 at least, so because I think that's a more comfortable zone for him than a 10. But yeah, as Mo said, like the diamond is here to stay. Either we love it or we hate it. It's gonna be what it is.
Yeah, so we're all saying Joselu is going to start Rodrigo as well. Rodrigo as a 10. So in that case, do you actually think for left back we're gonna be able to survive with Fran Garcia? Because if Joselu is playing, Fran Garcia's crosses are gonna be kind of valuable. What do you think, Mo?
Oh, for me, for me, the thing about Fran Garcia, like I already talked about it yesterday, right? I think he struggles in close spaces. Like I'm a big Fran Garcia fan, but I'm like I have like a little bit of intelligence to understand the fact that what his limitations are, and his limitations have been on display like throughout the season since the start of it. Uh, for me, Fran is going to struggle in close spaces, and I think that's the biggest issue that we're going to face with any team we face. And I think at the Bernabeu, teams aren't going to be as adventurous as they have been previously. So Fran needs space to show his stuff. I don't really think he's going to get that. So I don't really see that much of an impact if Fran starts or Follow Mendy starts, because Mendy's not good in close spaces either. So we just have to use whoever plays and hope for the best.
Yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps up, our thoughts for the lineup. But Kevin, I did want to get your thoughts on this. So I saw this conversation from a Barca fan. So he was talking about how Camavinga is our star player and Valverde is just not it. And then he was just mentioning that Valverde is just a racehorse. He can just run, do nothing else, and whatnot. Do you actually, from an external fan perspective, do you actually think the same? Do you think Camavinga has more to offer than Valverde?
I think Camavinga is a more useful player in the fact that, look, he can play the left back role, which is apparently a little bit of a problem now as well. I haven't seen too much of it, but by what people who have watched Real Madrid, it's all been a consensus that there are certain games where Mendy and Garcia just don't work, and you need a player that can offer a little bit more in short spaces, can come inside with a little bit more ease, and obviously supports the midfield in a completely different way naturally, and obviously he's just such a good player. He looks like he's played there all his life, and he's only a teenager anyway, and he's never played there before getting to Real Madrid. But saying Valverde is just a racehorse is absolutely ridiculous. Let's be honest. The way that he draws with the ball, it's not a factor of being a racehorse. It's a very useful aspect in today's game, especially when you have technical midfielders like Kroos, like Modric, who they can carry the ball forward with some ease, but the way that Valverde can just power forward attacks, and the way that he can play on the right as well, he can offer a very different impact on that right-hand side, where obviously Rodrigo will be a little bit more of a technical player. I believe that obviously two of the most important players in that team, especially when you look at the future. And it's Real Madrid just have a luxury of riches in the midfield positions, which almost makes me question how is the left back position neglected like that, when obviously you had the best left back in the world for God knows how many years, and apparently you've done the same with the striker position because now it's Rosselu.
Yep. Man, hit us right where in the fields where it hurts. But yeah,
I'm
apparently
sorry. I'm sorry.
we are looking at left back, so I'm not sure about the striker yet. But at left back, apparently we're looking into signing Alphonso Davies next season.
That would resolve a lot of issues. If it didn't come, maybe what might be a season late, who knows? But I think as long as you've got the other options in midfield, Camavinga should be able to do that left back spot when needed. It's obviously the striker position. Bellingham is not going to score more than a goal a game. He's not going to maintain that record for the whole season.
Yep.
He's just never done it. You can't rely on him for it, as Farouk obviously said. It's unrealistic. It's just bad squad planning. And look, even the best club in the world can plan badly. The one problem is it's the biggest club in the world, so it's going to look like the end of the world. And obviously, it's not the same luxury as any other club. The level has to be as high as the club. So, for what looks like as an outsider, it looks like it's not the end of the world, but it shouldn't be happening.
Exactly. I think you pretty much summarized a whole season and the feelings that every single Real Madrid fan had. But yeah, man, I guess that's it for the lineups. So let's head right into the predictions and wrap this up, And let's go with you, Kevin, first. What do you think the scoreline is going to be?
If I'm being realistic, I would say 3-1 or 4-1. But I want to be a little bit optimistic. I'm going to go for 3-2. Excited game, but Braga can do it. They've got enough attacking power if they want. If they're on their day, they can make it a little bit of a tighter game than Real Madrid fans were wanting. But I just see Real Madrid coming with a bit of a reaction that's going to be wanted. And look, end of the day, the realities of the clubs are very different. And it'd still be a result that is more than Braga fans would dream. And Real Madrid fans will just be happy with the win at the end of the day. And scoring 3 goals when you don't necessarily have a striker, hey, you could have a lot worse.
Yeah, that's actually a very good prediction for us. What about you, Farouk? What do you think?
I think it's going to be similar to the first leg, a 2-1 victory for Real Madrid.
Who do you think is going to score if Jude is not there?
Nothing too fancy. Yeah, I mean, there was Real Madrid before Jude. There will be Real Madrid after Jude as well. Vinicius has been doing this for the past 2 years, so I wouldn't, bet him out. I think we can see a goal from Vini and Joselu as well if Jude is not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm oscillating between 2-1 and 3-2 because both of them are appealing to me. The fact that we would be at the Bernabeu with spaces open behind us, that the pacey forward line of Braga can exploit. So probably 2-1 or 3-2, but I do expect Joselu and Rodrigo to get a goal each, at least.
A goal each? Wow, that's optimistic.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see a reaction from Rodrigo. There's been a lot of criticism over the weekend, especially. So there's going to be a reaction, I think.
Okay, I hope so. For his sake, I hope so, honestly, because I predicted him to have a good season this year, but it doesn't seem like it's happening. I don't know. I think it's something mental, or I don't know.
No, man, it's the Champions League. Rodrigo always shows up in the Champions League. So
that's very true. I hope because I feel like yeah. Actually, that was what I thought. Once he scored that goal, he was gonna go on a run, but then still it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
exactly. I feel like he has this striker's block. 1 goal and 2 goals, and then he's just gonna go on a tear, and no one can stop him.
Yeah, well, I think we need to remember what Cristiano and Tchouaméni said. Goals are like ketchup once they start flowing.
Tchouaméni used to say that.
That's.
Yeah, he said that after he scored his first goal against Girona.
Beautiful.
And the man is in, he's in the hospital right now with the doctors. It's flowing indeed.
Yeah, no, the ketchup is just getting loosened, Come January, we're going to see it all drop.
You just have to force it a little bit, loosen it a little bit.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go for a 1-0 just because our defense is like looking incredibly good, and I feel like they're gonna be switched on for the whole game. So
But
1-0
Jacob,
for
we've
me.
been struggling, defensively in the Champions League. 2
Oh,
goals
man.
against Napoli, 1 goal against
It's a
Braga.
home game. I feel like the players are gonna be switched on. Hopefully, let's see. Yeah, but I'm not too confident about that. And with your smile, Mo, I know that you don't think that's gonna happen too.
No, for me, the funny thing was like you had to put a prayer after it.
Okay, sounds good. All right, do you guys have any more thoughts, anything to add to the game before we wrap things up?
I guess that's it from my end.
Yeah, that's it, Farooq. Kevin, any thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, good, bro.
No, that's about it. I mean, it's two teams with very different expectations. So yeah, at the end of the day, Real Madrid fans, they would have a right to be somewhat ignorant about it because it's not Sporting Porto or Benfica. But 20 years ago, Braga were fighting for relegation. Now they have the same. They have the PSG owners with a little bit of a stake in their club. They're ever more present, fighting for third place, even second place sometimes. Hey, who knows? It's
You guys are owned by the oil money as well?
But Braga is, yeah. They've got their PSG owners have a little bit of their club.
Okay.
Right.
So
You guys have no
Hey.
enemies from today on. I don't know if our fans know, but there's
Hey.
an anti-KC agenda in this room, minus me.
the Chelsea owners wanted to buy a stake in a few Portuguese clubs. Evra has a stake in one of the Portuguese clubs. Roberto Carlos has in one of the Portuguese clubs. Everyone wants a piece of the Portuguese
I think
league.
even
I don't know
Marcelo
why.
does. I think even Marcelo has.
Yeah, Marcelo does. Yeah. Tondela, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, even second division clubs are getting a bit of the action.
Well, not bad.
Yeah, it's just to show the different realities and what the Champions League can throw about. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the same story for Real Madrid. Maybe Braga pull off an upset and look. I don't think anyone expects it, but if there's a year that you will expect something like it, it'll be this one because you've got a lot of obscure clubs with history and making their first appearance that are coming into this one. So bring it on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Kevin, actually, me and my guys were looking to invest in a football club, so we're going to check out Portugal. Don't worry. Maybe we will own one of the clubs.
Yeah, and Farooq was gonna make sure the first signing is Osimhen. So
Hey, the one thing that I can say about Portuguese football is that it is never boring. So I wouldn't expect, even if it is 1-0, like Jacob said, don't expect a boring 50% possession, pass around the back, slow tempo. I wouldn't expect that for 90 minutes at all.
Right. You guys can still hear me, right? I'm seeing some issues with my internet though.
yeah, I can hear
You're
you.
fine.
Okay.
Clear and loud, man.
Right. I'm gonna wrap this up just because of my internet as well. So yeah, thanks for all of you guys still tuning in. It's been a pleasure having you in the comments. And if you haven't checked out Kevin's channel yet, all the links are down in the description below. Do check him out. He has obviously some awesome content on Portuguese football. You can learn more about oil money investment in Portugal as well. So do check these guys out. And last but not the least, also check out our Instagram and our YouTube shorts, because we have we're gonna push out all of the home content and the fan cams and whatnot. So give Sid some love, leave a few likes and some comments. Let us know what you think. And also we'd like to thank our partners over at Real Madrid Committee for all of the awesome support that they give us. And before we gently go, Kevin, we shout out Hala Madrid. Feel free to join in as well. Not Hala Madrid if you want. You can say whatever comes to your mind. Yeah. So I guess Mo and Farooq, let's go.
And he's left.
And he's back.
And he's back.
I'm back.
So Jacob, is it still live?
Yeah, it's still live.
Okay, cool.
Oh, okay.
Maybe finish wrapping it up then.
How long was I away for a bit, or just a second?
Seconds.
Second.
Okay, that's not too bad. All right, let's just go. I'm gonna kick it off by saying Hala Madrid.
Hala
Hello,
Madrid.
Madrid.
Kevin, you're not gonna say anything? Nothing?
I shouldn't. I shouldn't.
All right.
I don't
all
want
right.
my friends to get mad. I don't want the Portuguese community to get mad. Hey, I didn't say anything against it.
So, what does the general Braga fan say? Forza Braga? What do they say?
Força Braga. Yeah,
Forza Braga.
that's what they'd say. I'm not going to say it either because my sporting allegiance will not. It won't let me. I can't.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
That's why I've got this on, not the Braga shirt.
Right, there you go, it folks. Do catch us for the post match as well. Kevin, you're gonna be on for that? We'll talk about it.
Potentially, yeah, we can organize that.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Right. See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.